you look like you're staring off into space. What's up?
I'm actually wondering why we've never reviewed any of the newer superhero franchise films after our retrospective Superman review a few years back.
That's because the new franchise films are very formulaic nowadays, and most of them usually turn out great, especially with the MCU. But today, we're making a rare exception, so take a guess on what we're reviewing today.
Would that be the Batman or Moon Knight?
Now, you're very cold, but guess again.
Since you mentioned MCU, would it be the Incredible Hulk?
Very close, pal. You're warm. Actually, it's a 2012 indie film titled The Amazing Bulk.
What the f***? There's so much better content out there that we could be covering, and you chose this piece of shit? Are we that desperate?
Yes.
Well, since it's your idea, let's see how this one turns out. But I'll start with some initial comments. If you thought our show looks like crap, The Amazing Bulk makes us look like a big budget production. I also lumped the bulk in with other shitty flicks like Avengers of Justice, The Farce Wars.
I mean, seriously, folks. The Bulk film is basically a fat purple slowpoke running around aimlessly in front of a generic comic book backdrop.
Totally agree. The acting is just as generic as the backgrounds.
Not to mention that watching this film is like being trapped in a room with an ugly person that's so compelling to look at, you can't take your eyes off them. But at the same time, you want to leave the room immediately.
Word. If you want to waste an hour and a half of your life to watch this film, be my guest.
If you could even call it a film. Like, seriously, folks. Just take a look at a few scenes behind us because that's what you're in for.
I love it!
And scenes like this. I have no idea who greenlit this garbage, but 3/4 into the film, cartoon wildlife begin to appear next to the live actors, and the results of that look just as cringeworthy.
And absolutely dreadful, okay? Let's be brutally honest here. It just sucks.
This is probably the only review that we won't mention the director or cast, because it just doesn't matter.
However, we will mention that this will be one of the shortest reviews that we ever have done. We've even lost our appetite during the recording of this.
Since we don't know if The Amazing Bulk is trying to be a spoof of sorts, for me, it gets lost in translation. I'm giving The Amazing Bulk a 1-star FU rating of FUBAR.
Totally agree. Plus, Ed Wood is probably thankful that there's an even worse filmmaker out there. So I'm giving this film a 1-star FU rating of FUBAR too.
There is a good takeaway from watching this film. For example, if you're an aspiring or up-and-coming filmmaker, you should watch the film as a reference to do the complete opposite on how The Amazing Bulk was directed, written, produced, and cast.
Wait! Really? A takeaway? How about this film was complete This took away an hour and a half of my life. I'm surprised Marvel hasn't sued the shit out of them.
Now that you got that off your chest, let's go get that fried calamari.